You think the most dangerous night for someone sleeping outside is the coldest one. The blizzard night. The night the weather app turns red. The night everyone stays home. But many outreach workers will tell you something that sounds backwards. The night that quietly kills people is often the night that feels not that bad. The night just above freezing. The night with wind. The night with rain. The night when the cold does not look dramatic, so the danger does not feel urgent. Let me ask you a question. If the temperature says 36 degrees, would you call it life-threatening? Or would you say, they can make it through that? Now another question. What if the person outside is already exhausted, already hungry, already sick, already wearing damp clothes, already older with a body that holds heat less effectively? That is when the math changes. Because hypothermia is not only a below freezing problem. It can happen in cool, wet, windy weather, even when the thermometer is above freezing. And the most common deadly mistake is not a lack of toughness. It is a misunderstanding. People think cold is only dangerous when you can see ice. But the real threat is heat loss that you do not notice until your thinking slows down. So tonight, in this documentary from Homeless US, we are going to investigate one question. How do people survive sleeping outdoors in winter? And why do some nights become deadly even when they do not look extreme? We're going to do this carefully. No mocking, no dehumanizing language, no turning suffering into entertainment. This is not a street hack video. This is a human story and a public health reality. And as you listen, I want you to keep asking yourself, what would you do if you had no door to close tonight? Part 2, the body. The hidden rules of cold that most people never learn. Start with the uncomfortable truth. Most people who sleep in warm homes do not understand cold. Not because they are careless, because they do not have to. They think cold is just a feeling. But cold is a process. Your body is always producing heat, and your body is always losing heat. When you are housed, you replace lost heat easily. A heater, a blanket, dry clothes, a hot shower, a kitchen, a bed. When you are unhoused, you are negotiating heat loss every minute. So let's ask a simple question. What actually takes heat away from a human body outdoors? There are 4 main pathways. 1, the air around you. 2, wind. 3, moisture. 4, the ground beneath you. If you only remember one thing, remember this. Wet and wind together can be more dangerous than a cold or dry night. That is not a dramatic line. It is basic risk. Even major safety guidance warns that hypothermia can occur in wet or windy conditions, even when the weather is not extremely cold. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever walked outside on a rainy day at 40 degrees and felt chilled to the bone? Now imagine you cannot go inside, and your clothes do not dry, and you cannot safely keep changing layers, and you cannot sleep deeply because you must protect your belongings. That is where survival becomes a full-time job. The almost freezing trap. Here is why just above freezing is such a trap. When temperatures are far below freezing, people know it is dangerous. Cities sometimes open emergency warming sites. Neighbors sometimes check on people. Outreach teams sometimes push harder to bring people inside. But when temperatures hover above freezing, many systems do not trigger. The danger looks mild. The response can be slower, and the human body can still lose heat steadily, especially if the person is wet, underfed, sick, older, or exhausted. Now ask yourself, if you were outside tonight, would you even know you were in danger until it was too late? What hypothermia looks like in real life. Most people imagine hypothermia as a dramatic scene, collapsing in a snowbank. But early hypothermia can look ordinary. Shivering, clumsy hands, slow speech, confusion, unusual tiredness. That matters because the moment your brain slows down, your decisions get worse. You make choices you would never make while warm. The National Institute on Aging warns that if you think someone has warning signs of hypothermia, You should call emergency services right away. So here's a question for you. If you saw someone outside who looked disoriented, would you recognize it as cold danger? Or would you assume something else? Why older adults are at higher risk. Now let's talk about age. In winter, age is not just a number. It can be a risk multiplier. Older bodies often have a harder time maintaining heat. Some people have health conditions. Some have medications that affect circulation or awareness. NIA specifically highlights hypothermia as a cold weather hazard and urges fast action when warning signs appear. So if you hear an older person say, "I can handle it," ask yourself, can their body handle it the same way it did 20 years ago? The ground problem. Here is another truth most people do not understand until they feel it. The ground steals heat. A cold sidewalk can drain warmth faster than cold air, and the ground also holds moisture. So on a rainy, near-freezing night, the danger becomes later. Cold air, wind, wet clothing, cold ground. Now imagine trying to sleep. You're not just resting. You're balancing a fragile heat budget. The wind problem. Wind is not just uncomfortable. Wind strips away the thin, warm layer of air your body creates near your skin and clothes. That is why wind chill exists. The National Weather Service explains wind chill as the effect of wind removing heat from the body, making it feel colder than the air temperature alone. So let me ask you, if the air temperature is 35, but the wind chill feels like 20, which number does the human body experience? It experiences the loss, the sleep problem. Now we reach something that sounds simple, but is brutal in real life. Sleep is warmth. When you sleep well, your body regulates better. When you sleep in fragments, your body loses. People sleeping outdoors often cannot sleep deeply because they are protecting their belongings, because they are watching for conflict, because they are listening for footsteps, because they are afraid they will be told to move. And this creates a vicious loop. Less sleep, more exhaustion, more mistakes, more vulnerability. So when someone says, "Why don't they just tough it out?" the real answer is, they are already doing the hardest version of tough every night. The street is not a wilderness. It is a public space with rules. Here is where survival becomes complicated. People imagine outdoors like camping. But homelessness is not camping. Camping is planned. You choose the location. You have equipment. You can leave when it gets dangerous. Homelessness is forced exposure, and the environment is not neutral. It is shaped by rules, patrols, business pressure, and public visibility. That means people cannot always stay where it's safer. They may be moved. So ask yourself, if you are moved at midnight, carrying everything you own, in freezing rain, how much choice do you really have? How people survive without turning this into a how-to. Now, we need to be careful here. This channel is not here to teach people how to sleep outside. The best solution is always a safe indoor place. But we can still answer the real investigative question. How do people survive at all? They survive through a mix of constant risk assessment, community knowledge, mutual support, public services when available, and sometimes sheer luck. People learn where wind is worst, where rain collects, where they are likely to be forced to move, where there is light, where there is danger, and they share information like it is medicine. Because in winter, information can be the difference between life and loss. Let me ask you a question that may feel uncomfortable. If survival requires a map of least dangerous places, what does that say about the city around them? The morning hours problem. Now here is something that surprises many people. The danger does not end when the sun comes up. Early morning can be brutal. Temperatures often drop lowest just before sunrise. People are depleted. Their clothing may be damp. Their energy is low. And this is where you see the quiet tragedy. Someone makes it through the night, then collapses during the transition. Not because they gave up, because their body ran out of margin. So ask yourself, how many people survive the headline weather, but lose the fight in the hours nobody is watching? Where systems help and where they miss. Most cities do have winter responses. Warming centers, libraries, transit stations, emergency alerts. outreach teams, and those efforts save lives. But many systems are built around thresholds, rules, capacity limits. When the weather is not extreme enough, doors may not open. When beds are full, doors may open but still not accept more people. When someone has a partner or a pet or trauma or a health issue, the rules may block them. And this is where the public argument often becomes cruel. People say, help exists. But what they mean is, help exists for someone who can navigate the system perfectly. Now be honest. If you lost your phone, your ID, your medication, your sleep, and your privacy, would you navigate paperwork well? A brief, responsible safety note. We do not give survival instructions here, but we do give life-saving awareness. If you think someone is suffering from hypothermia, call emergency services immediately. If they seem confused, very drowsy, or unable to respond normally, treat it as urgent. And if you or someone you know is in crisis in the United States, you can contact the 988 Lifeline for support. This is not about judgment. It is about time. Cold steals time. The real secret isn't technique. It's margin. Now we can finally answer the big question honestly. How can a homeless person sleep outside without freezing to death? The answer is not one trick. It is not magic. It is not toughness. It is margin. Survival depends on whether a person has dryness, wind protection, enough calories, and rest, a way to warm up during the day, a community that notices, a city system that opens doors early enough, and a path back indoors before the next storm. And the most haunting part is this. Even when someone does everything right, they can still lose, because the margin is thin. So here's a question for you. If survival outside depends on margin, what does it say about a society that forces people to live with none? What would actually reduce winter deaths? If we want to create value, we have to move from curiosity to solutions. The evidence-backed direction is not complicated, even if implementation is. 1. Prevention. Stopping the fall is easier than rebuilding after collapse. 2. Rapid access to housing. A locked door changes everything. 3. Low barrier, flexible shelter options in extreme weather. Not one model, many models. 4. Integrated health support that meets people where they are. Mental health, physical health, substance use treatment. All connected, not scattered. 5. Basic dignity. The cheapest intervention and the one that changes a city's temperature the fastest. And now, a question that matters. If your city can build stadiums, towers, and mega projects, why is a warm bed in winter? Parte 3. Outro. There's a reason this story stays in your mind. Because it is not just about them. It is about what happens when life hits you fast. A layoff, a medical bill, a breakup, a rent increase, a mental health crisis, a family conflict, and suddenly, the door is gone. The sidewalk is not a metaphor. It is cold. It is wet. It is unforgiving. So tonight, I want to leave you with 3 questions. First, when you see someone sleeping outside, do you see a stranger or a neighbor in emergency? Second, if hypothermia can happen above freezing in wet, windy conditions, what should cities change about when they open warming spaces? Third, what would you want people to do for you if your worst month became your whole life? This is Homeless US. We tell these stories with calm voices and clear eyes. Not to shame people, not to sensationalize pain, but to understand the chain reaction and to push for solutions that treat people as human beings. If this documentary gave you a new way to see winter streets, subscribe to Homeless US. Share this video with someone who thinks homelessness is always a choice. And in the comments, answer this. What is one thing your city could do this winter that would save lives? And one last line for anyone watching this while struggling. You are not invisible. You deserve help that arrives on time. If you or someone you know is struggling, consider contacting local services or the 988 Lifeline in the U.S.